The Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab, episode 854 for Monday, January 25th, 2021.
To the Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab, the show where we try to take everything that you send in, your questions, your tips, your cool stuff found. You send all those in to feedback@macgeekgab.com, and then we mix them all together into an agenda that is geared for us to have an interesting, fun conversation where each of us, all of us, him, me, you, we each, individually and collectively, learn at least 5 new things together every week. Sponsors for this episode include MacSales.com, a couple new sponsors, Babbel at Babbel.com, CandidCo.com/MGG, KittyPooClub.com with promo code MGG, and Headspace.com/MGG. We'll talk more about all of those and each of those later in the show. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton. I don't hear you, John. I think you muted yourself, my friend.
Yes, I did.
There he is. Well, that's a good start.
And here in Fairfield, Connecticut, where I'm pretty sure I heard Dave say feedback at MacGeekGab.com. This is John F. Braun.
I did say feedback at MacGeekGab.com. We need you to organize your setup so that when you mute yourself, you don't hear yourself in your ears, because that is a recurring problem, right? Like when I mute myself, I can't hear myself when I talk. And so finding some method to the workflow so that when you hit mute, it stops you from hearing yourself. Then you'll know, because otherwise we're the only ones that know. Speaking of knowing things, Todd starts us off with quick tips. Todd says, I'm running SoundSource, but this has nothing to do with SoundSource. He says, I noticed today that if I hold down the Option key and hit the Sound Up or Sound Down key on my keyboard, the System Sound Preference pane opens. This holds true on my MacBook Touch Bar Sound virtual keys as well. So that's true. Yeah, you can get the Sound Preference pane open just by Option and Sound key on your Apple keyboard. It might work with your third-party keyboards too. I don't know, but certainly with the Apple keyboard, that's a quick way to get there. Doesn't
work on my Logitech. So.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me. Logitech tends to do their own thing, so yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. All right. I noticed. Speaking of option clicking. We talked in recent shows about how in Catalina, you can option click the notification center dropdown to enable a 24-hour clock on your Do Not Disturb. Of course, there is no notification center dropdown in Big Sur, but what there is the clock. And so if you option click on Big Sur's clock, it will turn on Do Not Disturb, but it turns it on. It doesn't do the 24-hour clock. It's just on. So a little more dangerous. However, if you click on Control Center and Do Not Disturb in Big Sur, you can then set it for an hour, I think 24 hours. I don't have, this machine isn't Big Sur yet, so I can't tell you as we're doing it. But you've got several options from which you can choose. But option clicking on Big Sur's clock is the shortcut to enable Do Not Disturb. Just don't forget about it, because otherwise you, like me, might find yourself 3 days later wondering, why am I not getting notifications from anything on this computer? So I'm thinking about writing some sort of triggerable thing, probably Keyboard Maestro, where maybe like every morning at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., so just so I get it before I come to my desk, it turns off Do Not Disturb no matter what on my iMac in the office, just so I know I'm starting the day fresh. In fact, I'm definitely going to do that. Hopefully I remember. So,
okay. Yeah, I tried this one. Actually, I think what it does is it grays out the time so you can visually see that it's engaged.
So that makes sense as to why I would not have noticed it. I continue to like to use the clock that I get with iStat menus because it shows me,
Okay.
more stuff. And so since you can't get rid of Big Sur's menu bar clock, what you can do is turn it from digital to analog. And so as an analog clock, it's just it's a single icon. I guess I didn't notice that it was grayed versus not grayed because I don't generally use it. So yes. Yeah. All right, cool. And Guy Searle in our Facebook thread says, all I see is the do not disturb moon icon in the menu bar change. No other visual option that I see. So maybe you're doing the same thing with the clock that I am, Guy. So thank you for that. Good. Craziness though. It's, things we change, right? We're humans. We intellectually, we love change. Emotionally, we hate change. It's, change bad. All right. While we're on the subject of menu bars, let's let Bill share a quick tip.
Hello, John and Dave. I am a longtime listener, but have not been keeping as current as I should. I do have a tip to share. I recently upgraded to a MacBook Pro, 13-inch, last of the Intel processors, because the SSD in my MacBook Air gave out and I needed a functioning machine quickly. I use an external monitor in addition to the built-in monitor. On the Air, running Catalina, I would have the menu bar showing on both monitors, making the trip to the menu bar short. But on the MacBook Pro running Big Sur, it only showed on one monitor. I searched Apple support unsuccessfully. I chatted with Apple support, who suggested a restart and a reset of various things, which might have been useful if I were not seeing anything on the external, but made no difference as to the menu bar. I called Apple support after doing the various resets. He suggested futzing with the display preferences, turning on and off mirroring, which made no difference. Finally, while on the phone, I tried a different system preference, and this was the solution. Under Mission Control, check displays have separate spaces. This is the key. You have to log out and back in, but when you do, you'll have a menu bar on the top of both monitors. The active menu bar is in black text, the inactive in gray. You may have already recovered this tip, but if not, give it a try. A menu bar at the top of each monitor means a lot less mouse or trackpad action is needed. Cheers.
Thanks, Bill. You are absolutely right.
Park.
Oh, sorry. I thought the comment was over. But thank you, Bill. Yes, you are absolutely right that one byproduct of checking and just for clarity, it's system preferences, mission control, and then there's a checkbox. Displays have separate spaces. One byproduct of that is exactly what you said, Bill, that you get menu bars on the top of both screens. Another really nice thing is that when you go full screen with a window, it only goes full screen for that screen. So your other screen stays in windowed mode and with whatever apps you want up. And of course, because they have separate spaces, you can swipe around in different spaces on different screens without affecting all of your screens. The displays have separate spaces behavior is default now, but it didn't used to be. And it takes, for those of us that came up in a time when it was a menu bar on one screen, it is a bit of an adaptation. I made it earlier this year as I was watching one of my kids use multiple monitors and was like swiping through spaces on one and going full screen and back and forth. And it's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I'm missing out on all of this functionality. And it's way better to be able to have all of that. And having the menu bar there, while at first was I thought it was a bit of a distraction. I, like you, Bill, I completely find it so nice to be able to just go to the menu bar no matter where my mouse is. So yeah, it's good. Good tip. Have you switched to that yet, John? Or are you still on the single space for all displays?
I guess single space.
Do you have menu bars at the top of all of your screens or only one screen?
No, just the one in front of me.
I recommend don't uncheck
one
or
to the side.
Don't check the box now because it requires a log out if when you change that setting. But I recommend giving it a try and see how you like it, because I had resisted it for a long time because it was like, well, I'm used to it this way and there's no reason to change. And then as soon as I did it, it was like, oh, I should have done this a long time ago. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you, Bill. Good little discussion. I like these discussions. It's good. Jacob will take us to our next quick tip here on our Daily Observations podcast earlier this week, and I'll find a link to it. Kelly and the crew were talking about different Apple Watch tips. And one thing that we noticed was that on the watch, and it really doesn't matter if you have a newer Series 5 or Series 6, which have the always on, or a prior watch, which is not always on. But in theater mode, your screen is not always on, no matter what your watch is, right? And so theater mode, the idea is you're in a theater or somewhere where you don't want the light of your watch distracting you or others. So great, right? And it turns it off no matter what. Well, the crown on your watch will allow you to, from 0, bring the brightness of the display up. So if you want to just check the time, if you roll the crown, you'll get your watch face starting to light up, but very dimly. So it's different than tapping it where it comes up full brightness. So that's cool. And I think Kelly and the crew covered that. What Jacob adds to that is if you press the crown or use the screen, it will stay dimmed at that level. So you roll it up to whatever you want, then press the crown or swipe around on the screen, do whatever you're going to do on your watch. It stays at that dimmed level, and then it goes back to sleep, on a timer like it normally would when you're done, in an activity timer. It doesn't remember that, though. So when you come back after theater mode, your brightness is back wherever you would normally have it. So that's a pretty handy little thing to like ratchet it up. If you're in a movie theater or something, or even wherever you need to do something quick on your watch, just roll it up, keep it at real dim levels and mess around, and then just let it go. So thank you, Jacob. That's a good one. I like when we find these little things that Apple clearly thought about, but doesn't really spend a lot of time telling people about. It sort of offsets the things that, frustrate us about Apple's UIs, I guess. I don't know. I know you don't have a watch yet, John, but.
No, I'm still mechanical.
Mechanical
quartz. Mechanical quartz.
Okay.
Watch.
Okay. So yeah, we would call that, I think in the horology world, we just call that quartz, because mechanical implies a mechanical like movement as opposed to a quartz movement. Like quartz and mechanical are two separate things, I think. If you ask the watch geeks. But this isn't Watch Geek Gab, though I do believe I still have that URL. Harvey, we haven't done anything with it yet. Maybe 2021 is the year. Okay. Harvey shares a tip about airplane mode. He says, I knew that if you turn on airplane mode on your iDevices, that you can then go to your control panel and individually turn back on Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or cellular while still remaining in airplane mode. This works well if you're on a plane and still want to use Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, of course. What I didn't know is that once you enable something in airplane mode, it becomes the default for airplane mode the next time from then on until you change it while you're in airplane mode. I use airplane mode overnight to save battery and do not want either Wi-Fi nor cellular to search out networks, etc. while I am asleep. I was quite surprised to find out this morning that while my phone was still on airplane mode when I woke up, both Wi-Fi, cellular, and of course Bluetooth were still on. I got caught, and I thought listeners would like to know. Thanks, Harvey. That's yeah, you're right about that. It took me a while to figure that out too. I got on a plane once, turned on airplane mode, then turned on Wi-Fi because I wanted to use the Wi-Fi, and that was fine. And then the next time I went to turn it on, I was like, how does it know to use Wi-Fi? And like you, Harvey, I deduced that it was not knowing. It was just persisting the change. Have you experienced that too, John? Has that been your experience as well?
I haven't been on an airplane in a while, so
okay. All right.
No, I usually don't fiddle with that.
You don't turn on airplane mode?
Usually no. No, I just.
You don't use airplane mode when you're on a plane?
Oh, on a plane, of course. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Okay,
it's been a while since I've been on a plane.
Okay, like wait, what's going on here? Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, all right. Do you use the Wi-Fi when you're?
Yeah, I mean normally.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean normally I have all of the things on.
Sure.
Cellular, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth, and when I'm out and about, and we have public Wi-Fi, so or from my ISP. So usually when I'm out and about, I'm near one of those, so it uses that instead of a cellular.
But you're not in airplane mode at any of those times to turn off some of those radios, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a common thing, as Harvey describes, that whatever radios you have enabled while in airplane mode persist the next time you turn on airplane mode. So, which is a little bit weird. That airplane mode. I mean, the assumption would be that airplane mode turns off all your radios. It does not. It turns off some of them, and then you can turn some of those back on. But some of those things stay on anyway. All right, we got some cool stuff found.
In other news, I saw my 5G indicator come on the other day.
Hey, that's good.
So they're starting to roll it out.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, they said they were rolling it out in New England, but not everywhere. So,
and you're still on Verizon, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Check the latency. That's what I've noticed to be the real key between 5G and LTE is consistently. If I'm on 5G, my latency is like low no matter what, whereas on LTE it can really waver depending on whatever the factors are. So yeah, on Mint, which uses T-Mobile's LTE and 5G towers here in Durham anyway. I have 5G maybe. I think I talked about it in the last show. Like I'm at full LTE, no problem here at the house. If I go to the other side of the neighborhood, that's where I start to pick up 5G. And of course, then in our even downtown in our little town is all 5G. But yeah, everywhere I drive in the car, 5G, at least in this area, which is on with Mint through T-Mobile. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's good. All right, we got some cool stuffs found. The next thing I want to do though is I want to talk about our sponsors, if that works out for you, John. We good?
Please.
All right. Well, someday, probably relatively soon, we're going to start traveling again, doing all those things. And that makes now a really good time to start learning a language for the place that you're going to go visit, right? And I don't speak French, right? And I am fixing that with Babbel, our sponsor here, and also the #1 selling language learning app. Because one of my goals was to make sure that the next time I went up to Canada, I understood and could speak a lot more French than I could the last time I went to Canada. Then Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. You can do it on your computer. You can do it on your phone. They've got an app, but the website actually works great. That's where I started my lessons, but then you migrate them to the app, or I migrated them to the app. You could do whatever you like. It works really well because Babbel's courses are designed with practical, real-world conversations in mind, things that I'll get to use in everyday life, and you can do the same thing. Babbel's lessons were created by over 100 different language experts. So they don't use just AI for their lesson plans. They're actually created by people that are experts in this stuff. And you can choose from 14 different languages, of course, French, Spanish, Italian, German, lots of others. And right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. So that's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use promo code MGG. That's BABBEL.com, code MGG, for an extra 3 months for free. Babbel, language for life. Our thanks to Babbel for sponsoring this episode. Next up is OWC. I had this in the episode as a cool stuff found recently, and now we get to talk about it here too. It's their new Thunderbolt Dock, because it's got their new Thunderbolt hub in it, And then other stuff too. So you've got 4 fully functional Thunderbolt 4 ports for your computer, right? And all those Thunderbolt ports also support USB devices and monitors. So they are USB-C ports, Thunderbolt capable, obviously, but also just fully can do everything that a port that looks like that's a Thunderbolt port should be able to do. Plug it all in and you're good to go. Powerful charging capabilities in this dock, right? So you've got 90 watts of power delivery in there. There's 4 USB ports, so you can connect and charge through USB. You can manage all kinds of additional devices. Obviously, you can connect more storage, but also up to 2 4K displays or 1 5K, 6K, 8K display or other accessories, whatever you want. Gigabit Ethernet is in there when you need it. You can access photos and movies via the SD card reader that goes up to 312 megabytes per second. They've got a headphone jack and a mic jack. It's a combo audio port on there. And you can customize the illumination for your work setting with their adjustable LED. So you got to go check this thing out. It is available for order now at macsales.com for $249. And our thanks to OWC for sponsoring this episode. Hey, are you unhappy with your smile? Because you don't have to be. Thousands of people have used Candid, the clear, comfortable, removable, and practically invisible aligners to help straighten their teeth. And now they love their smiles. Just like Cameron from Nashville says, once I started Candid, my life changed completely. I started going to the gym more. I started eating better. I even have better dental hygiene. My goal for my wedding was perfect teeth, and Candid got me where. And Candid is here to help straighten your teeth so you can fall in love with your smile too. Your treatment is prescribed and closely monitored remotely, which is good these times, right? By a licensed orthodontist who's an expert in tooth movement. You'll have the same quality of care you'd get from in-office orthodontists, but you get to do it from the comfort and convenience and safety of your own home. Like I said, they use orthodontists, not general dentists. And with Candid, the same orthodontist who created your plan is with you from start to finish, so you don't have to wonder how you're doing. Average Candid treatment is just 6 months, and you'll start seeing results way before that. And it costs thousands less than traditional braces. Become your best you. Start straightening your teeth right now, because you can save $75 on Candid's starter kit. Go to candidco.com/MGG and then make sure you use code MGG. That's candidco.com/MGG, code MGG. Take advantage of this limited time offer to save $75 on your starter kit. candidco.com/MGG, code MGG. And our thanks to Candid for sponsoring this episode. Cool stuff found time, John. Andrew will get us there to go. He says, I know you guys were talking about finding duplicates. I have used Gemini or Gemini 2 from MacPaw, and it looks like it could be very useful for people who have duplicate files on their systems. So there you go. Cool stuff found. He says, it's on SetApp. So if you're on SetUp, you're good to go. And of course, same people that make Clean My Mac X too. So yeah, Gemini. What do you use for duplicate files, John?
I just verified this. I've had this for quite a while. Tidy Up.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And let's see. Tidy Up 5 is the latest, and I just launched it on Big Sur, and it seems to work.
Okay.
And it can find either duplicate files, duplicate photos, duplicate music. It's pretty good.
That's good.
It's been out for a real long time.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. Yeah, that's from Hyperbolic. Yeah, for sure. That's great. That's good. I like it. All right. Let's see. Gene has a couple for us. Gene's first one is, he says, for $29, the Roku Premiere has AirPlay 2 built in. It says this is a really great, inexpensive way to add AirPlay 2 to your entertainment center. And in addition, right now, there is a promotion that offers 6 months of free Apple TV Plus. So he says better than a used Airport Express, in my opinion. I'll say, yeah, that's really smart. I looked on Amazon this morning and it was like $35, I think. But even still, like whether it's 29 or 35, that looks good to me. That's the great way to add AirPlay 2 to your setup. Yeah, I like it. Apple's done a good job with AirPlay too. I've been more and more impressed. Less so on their own Apple TV. That is the one device that I find completely and wholly unreliable for AirPlay 2. But
really?
Yeah. Yeah. I have an Apple TV in my, my entertainment center, as I would imagine many of us do. And I've also got my Sonos Arc is AirPlay 2. That's the soundbar that I have, right? So I can send sound directly to that. And then I've also got our LG TV has AirPlay 2 capabilities. And I flawlessly can send to the Sonos Arc, flawlessly can send to the LG TV, and sending AirPlay 2 to our Apple TV, it works maybe 15% of the time. Completely unreliable for us. And it always has been that way. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's something about our network, but the fact that AirPlay works on every other device that's literally in the same area of the house tells me prob's not our network. So I don't know what it is, but well, do you use it? Every now and then I have some music videos that I like to rock out to. Sure.
On my MacBook Pro. And so I'll load it up, choose my Apple TV as the destination, and the video and the sound all seem to be okay.
It just works. Okay. Yeah. That's what I would assume it would do, right? Like it's Apple. It should just work. But yeah, I don't know what the deal is. And it's been true for both of our Apple TVs, our Gen 3, like non-App Store one, whatever that was, maybe it was Gen 2, and then our current one, which is not the 4K, but it's it's got the App Store and all that on it. But yeah, it's
You know what I should try? So AirPlay 2 lets you target multiple devices, right?
Mm-hmm. That's one of the features of it, yes.
I have not yet. So I have the Apple TV. I also have Airport Express, which both, I think the Airport Express supports AirPlay 2.
It does.
I should try playing something and target both. I have not done that yet. I just, in the back of my mind, I'm just, wait, can I do that now?
Yeah, you should be able to. And it, in theory, like a Sonos system, it plays it in sync, right? So you have your audio everywhere. Yeah, that should work. Yeah, I'm curious to hear if it does. Let us know. All right, good. Are we good on that one? Anything else to add? Okay. Gene also has a second one. AirPlay from the Mac App Store is free and works great. If you don't have an Apple Music subscription, this is one way to present lyrics in a karaoke style window while music plays. So yeah, Apple Music subscribers can often, I don't know if always, but certainly often, get lyrics to display in that sort of scrolling karaoke thing. Whereas if you don't have that, AirPlay from the Mac App Store, I think you can also get it directly from the dev, but we'll put a link to the Mac App Store version. So thanks, Gene, for both of those. Actually, that's pretty good. Are you were an Apple Music subscriber for a little bit, John, right? When it was free for you, is that right?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were. All right.
Well, I think I told you I got a activation notice, and they said, "Oh yeah, thanks for signing up for Apple Music." And it's like, I didn't sign up for Apple Music.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I forgot. Oh well. But they credited you for that, right? They took care of you for all that. Yeah,
and where is it? I think I have an issue. I'll try to remember. There's a generalized URL where you can report problems like this.
Okay.
And they took care of it. I think I told you it was attributed to a machine called Old MacBook Pro, which I no longer own.
Right.
I don't know how that happened.
Cool. In the chat room, we have a Cool Stuff Found edition. It's something called hBlock. Alex says, if you use Homebrew, or if you have Homebrew installed, please check out hBlock, one of the coolest pieces of software I've found. We have a link for it. We'll put in the show notes, of course. HBlock gathers a list of nasty domains and adds them to your Etsy hosts file to block them so that your Mac does not use them and keeps you from getting there. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, I see. So you install this and then run it in some capacity. And as I visit the website for HBlock, it is telling me you are not currently using HBlock. So my guess is that they add their own domain to it as a sort of a honeypot test. And if you do a lookup for HBlock, you get one version if you're on it and another if you're not. And that's that way they know. I can tell you if it's working. So wow, that's pretty good. And of course, you can visit hblock.com and check out all of the things that it's going to add. Of course, you could look at them in your Etsy host file too. But that way, you know if you have a problem, So that's great. Thanks, Alex. You can run HBlock with a flag to revert to the original. All you do is type in HBlock and it updates the list. Ah, that's great. Okay, that makes sense. Great, cool. Thank you, Alex. I love this real-time stuff. It's great. All right. Any thoughts on that, John, before we move on? Okay. Eliot, last week we were talking about ways for updating apps. And speaking of the command line, Eliot says it's called DI for download and install. TJ Luoma has a command line script system on GitHub that I'd first heard about years ago from one of David Sparks' podcasts. Oh, that's awesome. The DI script for each app checks for updates via Sparkle, the standardized XML-based RSS feed that includes all the information needed to check. The scripts are then compared to the latest version according to Sparkle. They compare the Sparkle version to the installed version and download and install the newer version if there is one. Oh, that's great. So so Sparkle is I know Eliot explained it, but Sparkle is a library or a framework that developers can include in their app to make software updates way easier so that they don't have to write their own software update system. They just embed Sparkle. I think they pay a license fee to the Sparkle folks, and then they use it. So, but it only triggers when you launch the app or when the app tells Sparkle to trigger. This effectively runs Sparkle on all of your apps at once, which could be a whole lot more convenient to you than finding out, hey, I just launched. Do you want me to update? And it's like, no, I want to use you. Please don't update right now, right? So that's pretty good. All right, cool. We'll put that in there. I don't know if that's installable via Homebrew or not, but it is a command line thing. So very cool. That's cool. Have you messed with DI or any of the command line updaters that we've been talking about?
No.
All right, cool. I got to check out Speck's new Presidio ClickFlip, which is their AirPods Pro case. I've used other AirPods Pro cases from folks over the years, and this one, it's cool. You got to check it. You got to go look at the website. It's a multi-piece device case, if you will, that fits over the bottom of your AirPods Pro and the AirPods Pro case and the top of it. And it has like this little slider along the side that really keeps everything locked into place, but also makes it super easy to open. It's engineered very, very well, it's not a surprise given that it's from Speck. But at first when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this thing looks very clunky and like that. No, but as soon as I put it on, it was like, oh, it just becomes one with my AirPods Pro. And it's got a little D-ring clip so you can like clip it. You could clip it to a piece on your body or your backpack or whatever so that it just stays right there. And Qi charging for the AirPods Pro case works through this case. So it doesn't stop that. So yeah, I was pretty impressed with this case. So very, very well engineered, very comfortable to hold in the hand, all of those things that a case should do. So yeah. ClickFlip. There you go.
So what does the AirPods Pro come with Apple's case, right?
Yes, this is a case for Apple's case. This fits around. Oh,
you put Apple's case. Okay. All right. So
Great
it gives
question.
you extra protection and okay.
Yeah, it's got it's an IPX5 dust protection rating. It gives you a drop rating to 4 feet. It's got that microband stuff on the surface, so it the keeps bacteria and viruses and all the nasties off of it and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah. Because interesting. Yeah. So. And I've seen this happen to myself. If I drop my AirPods, they are very likely to pop open. And then, of course, your AirPods go flying and then, good luck. So like I said, it locks, but it's with this sliding lever. So it's like the lock isn't ever in my way, if that makes sense. It unlocks exactly when I want it to without any extra effort, but it stays locked the rest of the time. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So we have a not cool stuff found here. More of a PSA from Kurt. Kurt says, I just wanted to thank you guys for the heads up on Mac Geek Gab when you were discussing drives. Years ago, you were pretty positive on Seagate's Iron Wolf series because of the monitoring features. Hearing about Dave's poor reliability experience with them more recently steered me towards the higher grade, although less expensive, Exos drives for my TrueNAS box. Yeah, you bet, man. It's what we do. We want to help. So he says, however, along those same lines, the caution, you also in that conversation mentioned Western Digital red drives in passing. I wanted to remind or let everyone know that WD has been a pretty scummy player in the NAS drive market as of late. They quietly slipped shingled magnetic recording technology, SMR technology drives, into their WD Red product line early in 2020 with disastrous results for consumers. And there's an Ars Technical article about this. There's actually a few that we'll link to. And I'll explain what this is as best I understand it. But I'll finish Kurt's comments first. He says, because there is a solution. After an apology that wasn't really an apology, WD split their Red line into a third segment. There was already a WD Red and a WD Red Pro. The new segment is WD Red Plus. So WD Red Plus gets the conventional CMR magnetic recording technology, the old one that actually works in a NAS, as does the WD Red Pro. So WD Red Plus, WD Red Pro are both CMR, which works great in a NAS, and they continue to sell the shingled SMR drives in the NAS channel under the Just WD Red banner, where the unsuspecting, unsophisticated people run aground the shoals of abysmal performance during sustained read-write activity. So, yeah, so the net of this is, if you're buying for your NAS, do not buy. We're gonna add things to our do not buy list. So do not buy Seagate Iron Wolf drives. Do not buy WD Red drives. In fact, I think I would reverse that order. I'd put WD Red at first on that list. Definitely stay away from those. But you can buy WD Red Pro, WD Red Plus, and Seagate Exos drives. And so what WD has done, and I am not an expert on this, but this shingled magnetic recording technology overwrites. Let me open the link here. Hang on. I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly because I don't want to misfire here. Oh man, what's wrong with this web page, folks? Make your web pages so that they work. The SMR drives are not okay. SMR drives take advantage of disk write tracks being wider than read tracks to partially overlap write tracks, and so enable more tracks to be written to a disk platter. This means more data can be stored on a shingled disk than an ordinary drive. So if you think about shingles, they overlap each other. The problem is SMR drives are not intended for random write I/O use cases because the write performance is much slower than with a conventional drive. Therefore, they are not recommended for NAS use cases featuring significant random writes as part of the workflow. So that's the problem with these SMR drives, and NASs start ejecting them, saying they write too slow. There's a problem with it thinks that there's a hardware problem with the drive because the writes are taking too long when they're doing all these random writes all over the drive. So you do not want SMR drives in your NAS, and WD Red, just WD Red, are are SMR drives now. So get Red Plus, Red Pro, or Seagate. Red Pro? Red Plus, Red Pro, or Seagate Exos. Say that 10 times fast, and you're good to go. So thank you for that, Kurt. That's a good heads up, man. I had no idea that this had happened.
Video just.
Yeah. They know. I told them.
Let me reset the video here.
Yeah.
There we go.
You back? I don't know. You're back. Hang on. I don't think you're back. So I'm going to pause our audio here while we get John straightened out.
The only thing I'll say is...
Hang on.
I know you had a bad...
Hang on. You are massively out of sync. So disconnect from me and reconnect to me, please. And hopefully everything's back.
All right.
Talk to me again.
I'm talking to you.
Hey, all right. Hang on. Let me make sure everything's good, and then I'll bring the audio recording back. Stand by, as Guy Searle likes to say. Okay, that is back. Okay. This stream is healthy again. Okay, good. All right, talk to me one more time just so I can see your face.
I'm going to talk to you one more time.
Okay, good. All right. And let me bring us back in here. Okay, we are back. So, John, what were you going to say?
All I'm going to say is I've had good luck with the Iron Wolves, but I know you have not. So,
well, and they're just expensive. You'll pay their failure. The problem with the Iron Wolves is they're in the wrong spot in the product line. In that they're more expensive than the Exos drives. And their mean time between failure rating or, recommended use rating or whatever that is like half that of the Exos drive. So there's literally no reason to use them. Yes, they have that extra monitoring stuff, but I don't know about you. Like, I don't ever use any of that stuff. It doesn't tell me anything that's relevant. I run my NAS drives until they start to fail, and then I replace them. So, those Iron Wolf drives have failed. I don't know. Maybe I've heard from others. I mean, I'm a pretty high use NAS. Like my NAS is under, well, I don't want to say high use. I mean, I'm not running a massive corporate environment, but we do some stuff for work on it. And of course, my Plex library and all that. So I'm probably moderate use on my NAS, and those Iron Wolves just don't hold up. And I've had lots of different batches, lots of different sizes. They don't make it. So I don't know. Maybe it's something I'm doing, but for the price, there's no reason to pay the premium for Iron Wolf when you can get a better drive with Exos. So,
okay. I'm just looking here, and here's a tip for everybody: when you buy a drive, register it with the vendor, because I'm looking right now at the Seagate site, and according to this, I have 10 of them.
Okay,
and I think only one of them has failed me. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So pretty good track record. But
no, that's not bad. Yeah. I mean, all drives will fail eventually, right? Like,
yes,
that's just how it goes. It's when they start failing at the, 1 to 2 year mark, it's like, no. That's no bueno.
No, I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
And I think I've purged all the WD drives from my RAID. Another tip: don't put WD green drives in your RAID.
Well, don't put any non-NAS drives in your RAID. Yeah, it's tempting, but yeah, the WD greens or even the Seagate, like what were those? The Barracudas. I might be remembering the model wrong, but whatever their desktop green drives were. No. So, yep. All right. We've got some questions. Oh, we've got actually some great stuff I want to get to. I'm glad we're still right. We're back on everything's good with all the connection between us and everything. Okay. I want to take us to our next two sponsors, and then I want to get to some questions. How's that sound for you, John?
Awesome.
All right. Look, working from home means you have more time to enjoy having your coffee or your tea in the morning, or maybe the occasional afternoon nap that we've talked about with our shortcut here, right? To make that work. And of course, it affords us all the opportunity for our furry feline friends to walk across our keyboards in the middle of Zoom calls. I love having my cat around, but I'm going to be honest, I don't love being around the litter box. Well, this is where our sponsor, Kitty Poo Club, comes to the rescue, because Kitty Poo Club is an all-in-one litter box solution designed to be super convenient for you. Every month, Kitty Poo Club delivers an affordable, high-quality, recyclable litter box that's pre-filled with the litter of your choice. Now, this is, the box is made of cardboard. It's really high quality. It's great. But think about your cat. Your cat loves cardboard boxes. You know how I know that? Because it's a cat. My cat loved them too. My cat was climbing into this thing before we even opened up the litter or anything. I mean, it was just because it's a box, like every other box that arrives. The cat wants in. This is the box for the cat. It's amazing. And these boxes are leak-proof, eco-friendly, and they have a fun design for every season. When the month is up, you just recycle the box and Kitty Poo Club will automatically deliver a new one to you. So give yourself the gift that keeps on giving the whole year, a Kitty Poo Club subscription. Chevy Chase would be proud. Right now, Kitty Poo Club is offering you 20% off your first order when you set up auto ship by going to kittypooclub.com and entering promo code MGG. You knew. Just go to kittypooclub.com and enter promo code MGG to get 20% off when you set up auto ship. That's kittypooclub.com. And don't forget to enter promo code MGG at checkout. Our thanks to Kitty Poo Club for sponsoring this episode. All right, look, I get it. Even in the new year, it's hard to start a new routine. But if you're one of the 34% of Americans who made a decision, a resolution to be less stressed, Headspace is here to help, because Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in their easy-to-use app. I've been a Headspace user for years. They figured it out, right? They know what they're doing, and it's no great surprise because they are one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. So science is on their side here. They've actually leveraged it. It's awesome. Whatever the situation, Headspace really can help you feel better. And it's great. If you don't have a ton of time, they've got like a 3-minute SOS meditation. You got more time. Well, no, it's my Mac. It's not you. It's
all right.
Yeah. That's what I was saying before. Is my Mac has been weird this morning, despite the fact that I rebooted it yesterday before we recorded. But I'm seeing it's just deciding to do lots of things in the background, I don't know, man, like all kinds of weird stuff. It's just no bueno. I've seen accounts D spiking in usage. Like I said, when I tried to launch those web pages, it was refreshing. There's something about my Mac's RAM usage and all of that stuff. So I'm simply going to slot the sponsors into the episode, into the audio feed of the episode, and we'll just leave it at that. So, you heard it was, it was the Headspace was the last one. So, and we were close to the end, but yeah, something is just causing. In fact, you know what? I'm going to look here because I'm going to bring us back in on the audio recording, but for video, everybody's here with us. Hang on. I have an idea.
There, now I can hear you again.
Okay. What happened? Did you cause something that stopped you from hearing me?
No, you're every now and then your audio gets choppy and I don't hear
Interesting.
it, and then it stops.
Interesting.
And then the problem goes away magically. And
that's not good. That's not. Yeah. All right. I'm going to look since we're here. Since we're all in this together, where would the logs for that be? Let's see. If I fire up console, I go to diagnostic reports. Yeah. I'm not even seeing CPU diagnostic report. Okay, let's see. So this is from, it's from 11:10. Let's see, crash reports. Let's look. Okay, let's look at the Mimo Live crash report. So abort called, this is bad. This is bad. A graphics kernel error has happened. Let's see. This is not good. I wonder if this machine's GPU is
That's what I was thinking.
Not happy. Yep. because we had a, let me look. Let's see what this was. Graphics kernel error was what was causing the WebKit problems. I think I have a GPU problem on this machine. All right, I'm going to bring us back in. Hang on. Let's see. Bear with me here. I'll wait for the noise to go away so we have silence when I come in. All right. So my machine has been very weird today, John, as people in live.macgeekgab.com are aware. And Mimo Live has crashed twice on me. But as I mentioned, even before those happened, the websites that I was trying to load for that article about the WD Red drives was being flaky. And so I'm looking. I launched the console app, and I look in crash reports, and the two for Mimo Live cite application-specific signatures graphics kernel error. And then I look at the WebKit content things that died this morning, and those all also say graphics kernel error. So I either have some piece of software causing graphics problems, or I have maybe a bad, like maybe the GPU on this machine is going bad. Now, I will say I use this machine regularly for like studio work and audio only podcasts. And so perhaps I'm not pushing the GPU as hard when doing those things, but I don't get these crashes or weird little hiccups other than when Mimo Live is running. But I'm not yet convinced that it's a Mimo Live problem. Right. It might just be that Mimo Live is heating up the GPU and therefore causing, some issues. So it's possible. GPUs are things that go bad on computers from time to time. And maybe mine is. Yeah,
I'm looking at my crash reports and there are none for Mimo Live on my end. So,
well, I mean, you would know if Mimo Live had crashed. Mm-hmm. The app would quit, right? Like, right. So, yeah, no, these aren't problems on your end. This is definitely here. I'm looking at other things. No, just that's it. Looking back through. So Evernote Spotlight, which is an Evernote process, seems to be crashing all the time on my computer, which is yet another thing to worry about. But, all right. So, well, let's see. On 118, when was 118? What was the date for 118? Let's see. What was the 18th was Monday. So Monday at just before 2 p.m., I have a WebKit graphics kernel error thing. So, okay, maybe this isn't, because I'm almost certain I wouldn't have had Mimo Live running on Monday. So that's interesting. Not good interesting, just interesting. Right, because I came up here at 2 p.m. to record Gig Gab. So, interesting. So, yeah, something about graphics on here. Alex has said, I would not suspect the GPU, but you could install SMC fan control and bring the fans up a notch. Well, so that's the interesting thing, right? Is I'm using, I'm not controlling the fans, but I am keeping the CPU from going into turbo mode when Mimo Live is running, because otherwise you would hear my fans all the time. So I'm wondering if the GPU is overheating because the CPU fan isn't running, right? Like, is it, I don't know. Like, these are the thoughts that I have. Yeah. Interesting. Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to quit Turbo Boost Switcher Pro and let the fans heat up, and let's see if we get a more stable scenario going forward. I also had an interesting thing going on too, which we'll share. But anyway, yeah. All right. Well, we've got actually I don't even know where we are time-wise, but we've got a couple of questions that we're going to go through today for sure. So What is Alex is saying? Run Etri check. It reports a lot of things that we often forget about. So your GPU thing could be heat related, hence increase the fans up a bit to analyze if symptoms disappear. Well, I think you can hear the fans running when I talk now. Or reset the SMC. Yeah, that's probably, I would say an SMC reset is definitely in my future. So you get to hear the fans in the background, which are cranking. Yeah, I hate that. That's why we run Turbo Boost Switcher Pro. Ah, yes, that's right. If you want to crack your fans or now, we can at least tell you if we hear your fans. Oh, I can tell you, I hear my fans. When I talk and the noise gate opens, there go the fans. Speaking of what we hear, Eliot has a question for us, John. And Eliot says, let's see, where are we here? He was asking about headphone safety. He says, it's new in iOS 14, but have you come across the iPhone's headphone notifications that warn you if you have been listening to loud headphone audio for long enough to affect your hearing? Not only do they give you warning notifications, but sometimes, at least for him, he can't turn this off. So what he's talking about here is if you go in on your iPhone to settings, where is it? Sound and haptics. I know I'm going to find it somewhere. There it is. Settings, sound and haptics, headphone safety. And there are two controllable switches here. One is for headphone notifications and one is for reduce loud sounds. Headphone notifications, for me, I have it on, and it tells me that in the last 6 months, I've had 0 events where the iPhone has decided that I am playing things too loud in my headphones. And then below that, there is reduce loud sounds, which can be on or off. I opt to have mine off because it was causing weird things with some headphones that I was testing. But you can tell it to reduce the sounds that are coming out of your headphones. And once you turn it on, you can set a decibel level. So Eliot has been complaining that he can't turn this off, and it seems to be a localized thing. I've heard reports, and so this is where I'm looking at you, the audience. I've heard reports that in the EU, that is the case. I believe Eliot, though, is in Massachusetts, John. So unless his phone thinks he's in the EU, this shouldn't be happening to my knowledge. But we'll see. Okay, yeah. So Petter Hall in the chat room is saying that headphone warnings are mandatory in the EU. Now, here's the question I have for those of you in the EU, because what Eliot has found, his problem was he was getting headphone warnings because when he's in his car, he connects to his Bluetooth in the car, and he has found wisely and correctly that he should have his iPhone's volume cranked for the Bluetooth connection and then attenuate the volume coming out of his car speakers with the volume knob in the car. And that is the right way to do it. When you're building what's called gain structure, you want to have as much signal in the chain as possible so that you get less noise, right? The lower the signal volume is, the louder the effective noise in the channel will sound. And so by cranking his iPhone volume, he's turning up the gain early in the channel, and that's the right way to do it. But by doing that, he's triggering these headphone warnings, and then it's kicking in this thing and making it so he can't hear in his car. However, he found a workaround. I don't see this workaround on my phone, though. And the workaround is to go into settings and Bluetooth. And for him, he chooses his car and taps the little eye next to it. And there he says that he has found... what does it say? He's found a device type drop down that I do not see on my phone. And he says, I was able to change the device from headphone, which is checked by default, to car stereo. So now it knows, and it will no longer count those towards my volume limits. He says there are other non-headphone choices for him as well. So I'm not seeing that on my phone, John, and I don't know if you are on yours, but I think for whatever reason, I think Eliot's phone thinks he's in the EU. Now, maybe Eliot is in the EU, and my interpretation of him being in Massachusetts is wrong. Mm-hmm. But are you seeing that in your thing there, John?
They are both off on headphone notifications, and reduce loud sounds are both off on my phone.
Okay. And if you go into settings, Bluetooth, and tap the eye next to one of your Bluetooth connected things, like a set of headphones or I don't know if you use your car with Bluetooth, but if you tap the eye next to it, do you get a device type drop down there?
No.
Okay, so I think
I have
this
the Plantronics earbuds.
Great.
And yeah, when I click on that, it just says forget this device. And Pokemon Go, that's obvious that that doesn't count.
No. Well, but it does, like in a sense it does. So yeah, okay, so you're not getting that drop down to change that. Okay, neither am I. So I think Eliot's phone came from the EU. Now, whether Eliot is in the EU or not remains to be seen. But that's so for those of you that are, though, this is a really important thing, is to go into Bluetooth and classify your devices as accurately so that it knows that your car is not a set of headphones. And that way, you're good to go. My guess is it tries to guess this correctly, but he in his car is using one of those Anchor Rove things to link it all together, because his car doesn't natively have Bluetooth, I guess. And therefore, maybe it's not, however the phone negotiates with it, it's not getting a thing that says, oh, yes, this is Toyota, we're good to go, that sort of thing. So, yeah, interesting. Cool. All right. Well, headphone safety. I mean, it's a good thing that Apple's doing, but important to note that, controlling that the right way is also helpful. So, yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, we good? I have no idea how much time we've spent here today. Actually, I probably could figure it out. So we were at 46 minutes. So now we're just coming up on an hour, I think, is what we're at. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. Let's keep. We've got time, so let's keep trucking here. Listener David John asks a question that seems to come up often, and I understand why. He says, your recent discussion of the Internet of Things IoT products that you found at CES had me fuming a bit, because one aspect of these devices that isn't mentioned enough is their reliance on the 2.4 gigahertz band. And by reliance, I mean they will only work on that band they will work only on that band, but will still try to connect to 5 gigahertz, but simply won't work. I, like most people, have a single SSID for both bands and let the devices figure it out. However, this causes all kinds of problems with IoT devices. For example, he says, I have a SimpliSafe video doorbell, bulbs, irrigation system, printers that all require and will only work properly on a 2.4 gigahertz band. This gets vastly frustrating because the devices can and will connect to the 5 gigahertz band, but won't work at all or some of the devices not reliably. This has forced me to create a separate band just for Internet of Things devices. Thankfully, I have a Ubiquity setup and can do that with multiple networks and set one as only 2.4. This eliminates these benefits of letting the devices decide, but I have not had problems. This is extremely frustrating. What's going on here? Okay, so I grok the frustration, and I totally understand why the presumption, the conclusion is that the devices are trying to connect to the 5 gigahertz and failing. That is not what's happening, at least not the way you think. Because let's get one thing straight. If an IoT device has a 2.4 gigahertz radio in it, it cannot see anything on another band like 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz or 900 megahertz, right? The 2.4 gigahertz radio sees 2.4 gigahertz, right? Am I right on this, John? Am I I'm not making this up, right?
As far as I know, that yeah. I mean, how could it? I mean, the antenna is not tuned for 5 gigahertz; it's tuned for 2.4.
Okay, right. Okay, so we're coming at this, I think, the right way. So, but the question is, why is it getting confused? And the answer, I think, is software, not hardware. And more specifically, it's the software on your iPhone, not the software on the device, or at least the way that it's all put together. Let me explain a scenario. When you set up an IoT device for your Wi-Fi, there needs to be a process by which you can tell your IoT device which Wi-Fi network it should connect to, right? And so to do that, we first connect our phones to the device. Oftentimes it's with like Bluetooth LE, or some devices broadcast their own Wi-Fi network and you connect your phone to that, pass along some data to it, and then over it goes. Okay. That all checks out. So the question is, what data are we passing along? And this, I think, is where the confusion and problems exist, because the presumption would be that the software on our iPhone is passing along the SSID and password. So network name and password. And because that way the device would know what network it wants to connect to and you know, how to connect, what encryption and what the key is. And if your 2.4 and 5 gigahertz are the same, it doesn't matter because you're good to go. And 100% of that is true. If the devices pass along the SSID and then the encryption, it will work just fine. Just like if I tell you my network name and password, you choose it. I'm not telling you only connect to 2.4 or only connect to 5. I'm telling you connect to my network using my SSID and here's the password to use, right? And as long as that data is correct, then you'll connect. Whether your device chooses to connect to 2.4 or 5 is up to you or up to it. No problem. Okay. But the problem is that some software doesn't pass along the SSID and password. It passes along the BSSID or the MAC address of the radio that the iPhone is currently connected to, and then the password. And that's where the problems begin, because each radio in your router or access point for a mesh network has a different MAC address. You know, if you've got a dual band router, let's make it real simple, you know, forget about mesh, although it's the same, it's just scales up. But if you've got a dual band router, right, your 2.4 gigahertz radio is a different radio from your 5 gigahertz radio, and they each have their own separate MAC address. The numbers are often close, but they are not the same, right? Have you found that to be true, John?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so if my phone is connected to the 5 gigahertz radio and it passes along that MAC address to the IoT device takes it and says, great, this is the MAC address I'm supposed to connect to. And then it can't, because it doesn't have that in there, right? It doesn't have the capability to connect to that radio. And so it fails. So there are lots of creative ways for getting around this, but the problem is that whatever reason, the software on the device or the way the software on your iPhone, or maybe it's that the hardware that these folks are sourcing for their devices aren't smart enough or don't have enough RAM in their firmware or whatever it is to be able to negotiate with an SSID. They do it, you know, more dumbly down to the MAC address. Mm-hmm. And you have no way of passing this MAC address along. If they would just let me type in the MAC address and say, yeah, this is the radio I want you to connect to, it'd be fine. But they're not. They're trying to be, they're trying to be smooth about it, and it fails. And so I think of this as a lazy approach. It might be a cost savings approach, but it certainly causes a lot of headaches. And the creative ways of getting around it are like what David did, creating a 2.4 gigahertz only network. Most of us don't have the luxury of being able to do that on our routers. Our routers don't expose that, even though they're all capable of it, because if our routers can create a guest network, they could create a separate 2.4 gigahertz network. It's literally the same thing. It's multiple SSIDs on the same radio. But we don't get that option. If folks like Eero added that turn off 5 gigahertz for 15 minutes setting, and that's exactly for this, so that your iPhone connects to the 2.4. Now it passes that along, and now you're good to go, because your iPhone can go back to 5 gigahertz. Your IoT device won't know about 5 gigahertz because you can't see it, and you're good to go. So the other, the initial solution that I remember, hearing about with folks is getting far away from your base station so that your phone has to drop down to 2.4 and not go to 5, and then quickly do the thing there so that it passes along the right MAC address. Anyway, that's what's going on here, near as I can tell. Do you have anything to add, John?
They could put a 5 gigahertz radio in there, but
well,
I think it's a cost issue.
Yeah. And most,
because a lot of the devices that I talked about last week I explicitly, mentioned ones that have both radios because you avoid you should be able to avoid this problem if it has both radios. But no, I suspect that you and I were chatting before. It's got to be a cost issue.
Right. Well,
right?
it might be a battery or power issue too, but I mean, probably all starts with cost. But I think, as I understand it, I think a 2.4 gigahertz radio will take up less power than a dual radio in a device. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but the reality is most IoT devices probably shouldn't be using 5 gigahertz, right? In that you get better range from 2.4. Most IoT traffic is very, very low bandwidth. I mean, if it's like turn on a light, well, okay. I mean, that's that's a packet, then you're done. Cameras, which I think is what you were talking about last week, like those for sure, I would think 5 would be better because you get, the potential for more bandwidth, but yeah. So yeah. Yep. That's the trick. So anyway, hopefully, I know we've talked about this before. I'm sure we'll talk about it again, but yeah, there you go. Thoughts? Anything, or you want to take us to Walt, John?
I'm going to take us to Walt.
Great.
So I learned something. And here's Walt's question. I have a 2016 15-inch MacBook Pro fully updated to Big Sur. I realize I cannot launch Parallels to uninstall Windows or Parallels itself. Any suggestions on how I can do that? My 1 terabyte drive is too full now, with only 209 gigabytes available. That doesn't sound too bad. I think I got about 300 free on mine. So I have not actually run Parallels since I upgraded my MacBook Pro to Big Sur, Dave. So, to look into this problem here, I tried launching it. And hey, I got this really cool message. Parallels Desktop cannot be started because some of the required components are missing from the operating system of your Mac.
What version of Parallels were you running?
Not a terribly helpful. I mean, at least that wasn't a numeric error code, but still. So Parallels said I can't launch.
What version of Parallels were you running?
15.
That's the problem. You're not on the latest version of Parallels.
That's not the problem.
Well,
I'll tell you what the problem is.
No. That is the problem. You can make the earlier version of Parallels work, but it's not built for Big Sur. You need Parallels 16 because the whole system kernel extension infrastructure changed with Big Sur, and so yes,
correct. Okay, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Continue. Help me solve the problem. Check this solution. So it gives you a URL that goes to the Parallels website, and it says, "Here's how you solve this problem. You can get Parallels 16, but Parallels 15 also works, Dave. Here's what you got to do." You got to download the latest 15 installer. Then you can launch Parallels 15 on Big Sur, which I was able to do. Now, I think what happens is the latest installer updates it. And when I first launched Parallels 15 on my Big Sur machine, it said, "Oh, system extension updated. A program has updated the system extension signed by Parallels, blah, blah, blah. To finish this update, you must approve it and secure it." So that fixed my issue with not being able to launch Parallels on my Big Sur machine.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So Parallels 15 or 16 will run on Big Sur.
Yep. But you need the new extension format to make 15 work. Got it. Okay, good. All right, great.
Okay. The bad news is he is on, what version did he say he had? I think he said he had 11.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he had a really old version. So Dave, in that case, this is what I would suggest. Why did I fully update? I realized I cannot launch Parallels on install Windows.
Everything all right there?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So here's what I think he could do. So if he's running a later version, I don't know why I was under the impression he was running 11. I don't see that in his email.
Oh, okay.
So,
Got it. Okay.
but here's what I would do in any case. If you want to get rid of it, so the program, if you want to get rid of Parallels, here's what I would do. You could just throw it away, but the Parallels itself is not taking up your space. Here's what's taking up all your space, Dave. It's probably your VM file.
Right.
So two things I would suggest. So one, I would suggest if you want to get rid of Parallels to save space, I would recommend using something like App Cleaner, because it will get rid of the app itself, but all the little support files and other stuff that's buried in the system. The second thing you can do is, so where's the VM file stored, you may ask. Now, you could either access it from within Parallels and delete it, or the VM file is in your home directory and your Parallels directory, and it's a PVM file.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So do that. And then the second thing I would suggest, if you want to free up additional space, is use our pal Omni Disk Sweeper, which I've been doing every now and then. Yeah, APFS is still weird for me, Dave, with free space, in that I'll delete stuff and it doesn't necessarily free up the space immediately. It just kind of bothers me. And then one of my utilities yells at me saying you got less than 15% available. And so that's what I got.
Yeah. No, and I stand corrected. You're right. Parallels 15 is certified for Big Sur. It 16 uses their new frameworks to avoid any system extensions, but obviously, as you found, it works fine. So that's good. Be careful, folks, with Omni Disk Sweeper. John, when you run it, do you run it as root so that it sees everything?
Yes, I sudo it.
Okay.
And let me see. I think I gave terminal full disk access as well.
You would have to.
Yeah,
that's right. Yes. Yeah. I'll put an article in how to sudo Omni Disk Sweeper, but then at that point, terminal will ask for full disk access. Yeah, that's right. I recommend using Space Lens, which is inside of Clean My Mac. Only because it takes care of all of that for you, and you don't have to jump through all the hoops to do that. But Omni Disk Sweeper will still work fine. It just, you have to make sure you're not missing any of those, like you said, the full disk access and sudo and running an app from the command line is weird. It's fine, but just be aware, folks, if you're going to use that it will lie to you. If you run it by default, it will lie to you, and it won't give you any indication that it's lying. It doesn't, I don't think, unless they've updated it to say, whoa, you gotta, and they might have, to be fair, but if you've got to Clean My Mac, then use Space Lens and you're good to go. So, yeah. Okay. Fun. See, we're getting through good stuff here, despite all the weird little problems we had. All right. Doug, let's see if we can get Doug's answer. He says a quick and easy one, I hope. I have a 2017 iMac with a 2 terabyte Fusion drive. There are times when my machine isn't as responsive as I'd like the Safari icon bouncing 10 times before opening and occasionally stuttering as I type. I restart once a week. I run Onyx every couple of weeks. The slowdowns are inconsistent and just at the mildly annoying stage. From what I've learned on your podcast, Fusion drives and Big Sur may not play together well. I'm thinking of swapping out my Fusion drive for a 2 terabyte SSD. My questions: any concerns about my plans? And I currently use only about 1 terabyte of my Fusion drive, and my photo library and music are on that Fusion drive. Is there any reason to keep those files on external storage if the internal SSD is big enough to meet my needs? I'm going to answer question number 2 first, just because that's an easy one. No, there's no reason to keep it external or internal other than just space management. So if you're fine having it internal, more power to you. Yeah, absolutely. And Photos does, photos on an SSD is life-changing if you've been using it on a spindle drive. I'll just like crazy life-changing. So highly recommend that. Even if it's an external SSD, that's where I have my photos as an external SSD, and moving from an external spindle to an external SSD, life-changing. Any concerns about your plans? No, your plans are sound. I think you'll appreciate having that full SSD versus the hybrid of the Fusion drive, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not certain that it's going to solve this particular problem. Fusion drives have seen issues with iCloud Drive under Catalina and Big Sur, and they aren't the most optimal thing. But I mean, I haven't been seeing just widespread universal issues with Fusion drives and Big Sur. So something else is going on. Now, it could be that your Fusion drive is going bad. Like if the spindle part of your Fusion drive is failing, that could cause these types of symptoms, and then this would solve it. But that's not a Big Sur related thing. That's just a hardware potential thing. So I don't know. I would run some diagnostics. Maybe, I don't know. What would you do, John? I would want to know what the problem, what the cause of these slowdowns is before I do anything. So how would you do it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Mac Tracker, and it says that the options for that machine were a 1 terabyte, 5,400 RPM rotational drive. Nice. A 1 terabyte Fusion drive, or a 256 gig flash storage. Yeah, it'd be nice to know. I mean, you could run, one of these smart utilities to see if any of the drives are failing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, something like Drive DX is pretty good about that, identifying when a drive is nearing its lifespan. The built-in smart detection in the OS is almost useless.
Yeah. Yeah, fair.
I mean, if you go to Disk Utility, it'll tell you the smart status, and it'll probably say, yeah, everything's great, but other things do a better job of telling you it's not great. Yeah. Or you could, what else? Tech Tool is another one that will alert you, or I've had to do that for me, is that when I've plugged in a drive that is failing, it'll come up almost immediately and say, whoa, the smart status on this thing is awful. Throw it away.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so
I think you'll need an extra tool to tell you which part of the system is failing. Yeah, because do I want to even talk about optimizing the? Do you even want to do that?
No, not on a Fusion drive optimizes itself. Yeah, no, there's no.
Okay,
there's no
Apple
place.
Apple has their
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Apple has their own strategy for optimizing rotational drives to some extent.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They do that hot file management or whatever. But the whole Fusion drive thing is, I mean, it's like, yeah, we don't mess with that. No. That would be hopefully utilities wouldn't let us do that. That would be no bueno. So, all right.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Or, just
go ahead.
Just pull them and upgrade to a nice fast SSD.
Yeah, I mean, like I you know how I am. I always approach things. If I were there, what would I do? And like, yes, replacing the Fusion drive with an SSD would be great. But if that's not what's causing these slowdowns, then you need to solve that, even if you're going to replace it with an SSD, which is great. Like we still need to solve that problem. And I hate to throw money in the wrong direction, so anyway, that's my, them's my thoughts. So, all right. Let's do Ari's here. We're in like geeky mode, and it's fine. And I think this is a good diagnostic one for everyone. So, Ari wrote in and says that, I'm looking to see. Yeah. If I've left my Mac for a while, say an hour, not just a few minutes, when I come back, there is a pop-up saying I have no internet connection. It will take less than a minute, but more than, say, 10 or 15 seconds before I'm connected again, and the pop-up goes away. And this is on an Ethernet-connected Mac. So my thoughts on this are, I have seen this before, I will start by saying, and it can be, I would look at one of two places, John. Well, where would you go with this? Let me, before I get prattling on here, if you saw this, what would your first thought be? So Ethernet, we turn the computer, or we wake the computer up, and then Ethernet, there is no internet connection for the first, let's say 30 seconds, and then internet connection, all good. So if you saw that symptom, what would you do? Like where would you look first?
Ew.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to go with it if you've got a thought. Yeah.
No. I mean, depending on the switch that you have. Yeah. I mean, hopefully. Yeah. So he says he has a D-Link.
No, I have a D-Link switch.
Oh, you do. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, you're reading my answer, not. Yeah. So
no. I see. Okay.
It's very. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
If he has.
Forget about reading the email. It's I just cobbled. I summarized because this is like 15 pages of stuff. Yeah. It's machine wakes up, no internet for 30 seconds, then internet, and it's only Ethernet connected. Where do you look?
Well, I'm going to assume he's on a switch, so I would look at the switch status.
Yeah.
I mean, usually at the very least, you get some LEDs. I would just make sure that the right LEDs are on. It may be, I mean, it could be fighting with a marginal Ethernet cable, and eventually it settles on something. If you have a switch that has any sort of smarts, well, either most switches will have an LED that shows what the negotiated speed is. Make sure it's a gigabit and not something else.
Yeah.
So look at the blinking lights.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
If your switch has any, if your switch has any smarts, check that. Now, also, depending on the machine that you're running, unless you're on Big Sur, but pre-Big Sur, Apple had something called network utility, right? Yeah. And that also would show you what the negotiated speed was in one of them, as well as some other interesting statistics like good packets and bad packets. That could be another thing that's happening here.
Sure. Yeah.
So for one of the first things I would do, those various things to see if it's negotiating the proper speed. And at the very first thing I would do is try another cable.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good place to start. Yeah. You're right that Big Sur doesn't have that network utility anymore. You could still look. I think what I would do is go into System Preferences, Network, Ethernet, click the Advanced button, and go all the way to the right to the Hardware tab. Make sure, that's set to configure automatically. And then, because if it's not, then there could be a weird negotiation that's failing. But clearly what's happening is the negotiation is failing in some way, and then like all's good. At least we think all is good, right? So make sure that's set to automatically, and then look at, even when it's set to automatically, the three things below that, speed, duplex, and MTU, will auto-populate once the connection is made, right? So you want to make sure that it's coming up right away. So I would leave this screen up, put the computer to sleep, wait an hour, come back, and then look at this screen while it's failing and see how quickly, like if the Ethernet you want to see if you got a hardware connection before you have I'll call it a software connection or a data connection, right? Because this is hardware. So if speed doesn't show anything, then you know that it hasn't negotiated that yet. That's bad, right? And so, see what's going on there. That might give you some indication. But it could be the cable's easy. Usually the cable is easy to check. If it's in your walls, maybe not as much. But swap out the cable. It could be, try a different port on the switch. to see if maybe the port on the switch has gone bad. I have seen this on my 2019 iMac. I thought, and of course, with potential GPU issues, maybe I do have problems. But on my iMac here, John, if I connect, I have cables in the walls down to the switch in the office. If I plug this iMac and only this iMac into the wall, it either negotiates slowly or fails in a weird way. But if I plug that same Ethernet cable into the Gig E port on my OWC hub, it works immediately. So, but if I bring a switch and plug it in right next to my computer here and plug the cables in together, good to go. So is there something about, the Ethernet port on my iMac that's different from other iMacs, or like, I don't know. So that's one way to test is just see what's going on, see how quickly it is. I've also noticed, and I don't think this is the issue with the thing Ari's working with here, because I don't think there is. I think the only switch involved is the switch in the router. I think it's plugged directly into the router or the Xfinity gateway. But I know my smart D-Link switch, when I have loopback protection or spanning tree protocol turned on, it will take up to 30 seconds before it lets data pass. It will do the hardware connection right away. Well, because it's looking for the loops, it's looking at the traffic that's before it allows it to speak across the network. It looks at the traffic that's coming in and says, does this match any traffic I'm seeing anywhere else? If it does, I know I have a loop. And so it looks and eventually decides, nope, no loop. Okay, you're free to go. I can tell it to do that faster in the switch. You configure it to say, is this an edge of your network, meaning connected to a single device, or is it, part of the network, like connecting to another switch or a Wi-Fi access point where there might be other devices past it, and it it knows to look for longer with the ones that are part of the network. So my guess is, like you though, there's a bad cable involved or a bad port involved here somewhere. The weird part is usually when it's a bad cable or port and it eventually connects, is that it will connect at 100 megabits versus 1,000, 100 megabit versus gig E. And he says that when doing speed tests, once it's connected, he's getting, like 850 megabits per second or something. So it's definitely not connecting at 100, like there's no question. So I don't know. Just one of those things. Could be, Alex in the chat room is saying it could be a DHCP issue. The router could be not wanting to give that device a connection for some reason. I don't know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the only other thing I see here, at least on this Mini. All right, so I got configure manually because I know what I'm doing. Speed 1000 base T, full duplex, jumbo, because I'm just weird that way.
Sure.
But then I see AVB/EAV mode, and it's checked, and it seems to be working. I'm trying to figure out what that even
I
is.
think that's, say that again. I think it's the energy efficient negotiation, which could be the problem here. Right?
If you got that checkbox, maybe change whatever state it's in.
Uncheck it. Yeah. Right. So that it's not trying to, right? Yeah. Yep. What say that? What's it say again? Mine doesn't have that, or at least this one of mine doesn't have that. Because this is
AVB/EAV mode.
AVB/EAV. What is that? Let's look that up quickly. At least I think I'm still on the internet here. Yeah, there you go. AVB is audio. No, this is audio. Oh, that's part of doing. Oh, that's for maybe it's for Dante or those audio over Ethernet or video over Ethernet bridging systems. That's what's coming up here for me. Is it wants to? Yeah. So, but again, that could be confusing the switch too. So turning that off would be a good thing. Yeah, that's not the green mode, but it could be one. Like you definitely, most of us are not using this. So you can happily turn that off. Yeah, AVB, EAV. Is yours on, John? Your AVB, EAV switch?
Yes.
Interesting. Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, wait, here's what tells me this. I missed the question mark. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's AVB is audio.
That means
audio visual, audio video bridging. So, yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Audio video bridging, common name for the set of technical standards which provide improved synchronization on Ethernet networks for basically used for those sorts of things. Yeah, so that would be for if you're sending audio or video over Ethernet, which most of us are not. Even what we're doing here is not part of that AVB thing. No, we're. I mean, this is a VoIP connection. It's not like we're not sending from a stage box to a mixer or something, which is all done over Ethernet nowadays, which I think is awesome. So, okay. Well, I think we're out of time. Honestly, folks, I don't know. We may have been out of time for a little while. I'm trying to do the math here in my head, and I don't really have all the numbers. But we're going to call it and see where we go. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for all your tips. Cool stuff found. Thanks for all your help in the chat room at live.macgeekgab.com. It was awesome. I loved having all the interaction today. This is great. Let us know what you think, though. You know, when you're listening to this and there's all this interaction. I realize today's show was a little bit more scattered just because of the technical problems we had here. But I'd love to know. Like, do you like seeing behind the scenes? Is that too distracting? Is it? Does it provide value? Does it negate value? Let us know. We love to know these things. And you know how to find us. We told you at the beginning of the show, feedback at macgeekgab.com. I know I broke the rules, but technically it's two separate recordings, John. I'm going to stitch them together, but technically we're doing two separate recordings here. So I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. You get to see us geeks think on our feet. That's what I want to do more of that. It's good for us. It's good. All right. I don't know. You got anything to add there, John?
Nope.
Okay. Well then, thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out all our sponsors. Again, Babbel.com, promo code MGG, OWC at MacSales.com, CandidCo.com/MGG, Headspace.com/MGG, and Kitty Poo Club, KittyPooClub.com, promo code MGG. Great service. Terrible name. I really think it's a bad name, but it's fine. I don't know.
I was thinking that, but you said it, so.
We are in sync again, my friend. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a club I'd want to belong to until I learned what it really is.
Right.
In this case.
Yeah.
I had a cat.
Yeah, right. Well, you'd also need a cat. Yeah, that would be, it would be, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, let's say best if you have a cat, certainly. But terrible name. But I don't know. Maybe we're talking about it, aren't we? Maybe it's not so terrible after all, is it? All right. Yeah, that's
the first rule of Kitty Poo Club.
I like it. It's good. All right, folks.
Just don't make fun of Kitty Poo.
Don't make fun. It is really an awesome service. The way the box works and everything, it's great. All right. Thanks to all of our premium contributors. We will have some of you to thank individually next week. That's at macgeekup.com/premium. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Cashfly for providing all the bandwidth to get the show from us to you. Yeah. Thanks for listening. We made it, I think. It's pretty loud. Hopefully your headphone protection will kick in. I guess I had that music cranked today. Thanks for everything, and make sure that you are not like us, because today we definitely failed at this mission, but work real hard and don't get caught. See you next week. Bye, John. Is John back? Oh, I might have lost John completely. Yeah, I heard the crackle for sure. There he is. He's back.
Yeah.
It crashed again on my end
Yeah.
when I changed to the whatchamacallit, I mean, I'm hesitant to do it again, but when I did this to put the screen up for the end of the show, it died. Craziness. Oh, what a mess. What a mess.
I'm going to wash that sun right out of my... Yeah, it doesn't have the same... doesn't have the same punch.
No. Graphics kernel error yet again. Yeah.
Damn it.
That's not good. No
What
way.
machine is that?
2019 iMac.
2019?
Mhm.
Ooh.